What's going on, everybody? We are back with another devotional this week, and I picked the topic for this devotional based on some of y'all's comments that y'all left from the previous video. There were 4 of y'all that commented in total, 2 of y'all that actually commented on the channel, and then a couple that didn't have a account, and so they sent me a text responding to the thing, and so I counted that. And really there were 2 themes that popped up throughout these responses, and so I thought they were going to be worth noting and worth talking about, and so that's what we're going to do today. But first, there is one order of business that we do need to take care of. There is a gift card, and we probably should say who the winner for that gift card is. If you went ahead and made a comment on the previous video, then your name got put into a hat. The 4 people are Mary Gemma, Skylar, Anne, and Marie. You can kind of see those right there. So I'm going to go ahead and fold these up. I'm going to put these in a hat, and we will draw and find out who the winner is. All right, so we have the magic hat here, right? I'm gonna reach in. I can't see what I'm doing. And the winner, as you can see right here, maybe, will it focus? Give it a second. Technical difficulties. Mary Gemma. So Mary Gemma, congratulations on winning the gift card. I'll get that to you as soon as I am able. That way you can enjoy that in your own time. So now that the gift card is taken care of, let's get back to today's devotional. In the previous video, I mentioned that we have a lot of extra time on our hands right now that we're not used to having because of this season of life that we're in. And one of the things that I asked y'all to do was to think of 2 to 3 ways that you can be spending this time right now during this season that would be difficult otherwise. And in all of y'all's responses that y'all sent to me, there were really 2 main themes that popped in. Y'all are wanting to work on loving God more, and y'all are wanting to work on loving people more. And it got me thinking about the fact that, in our lives, when our schedules get busy and our lives get really busy, oftentimes the things that get pushed out first are those 2 things, our relationship with God and our relationship with people or with certain people. And it's not something that we necessarily do on purpose, but if our schedules get busy, then oftentimes what we lose is that time that we need to cultivate those relationships. And so it can be a dangerous trap that as we're getting more and more busy with things, we're losing maybe some of the things that matter the most. And I think that's one of the things that's interesting about this whole thing with our relationship with God and our relationship with other people, is that those are often 2 of the things to feel that first and to feel that the most when our schedule gets busy. But they're also probably 2 of the things that are the most important for us to maintain. And so we're going to look at a passage that actually teaches that exact same thing today. There's a story in Matthew 22 where the Pharisees come up to Jesus and they ask him a question. They're trying to trap him. They're trying to get him to decide to tell us, hey, Jesus, what part of the law is more important than other parts of the law? And they're trying to get him to pick one part of the law over the other. But Jesus goes ahead and answers their question. And they say, what's the greatest commandment? And his response is that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And at that point, he's answered their question, but he gives them a little bit more to think about when he says, and the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. So essentially what the Pharisees are doing, or they're asking, is, hey, Jesus, is there one thing that our lives should be about more than anything else? And Jesus says, actually, yes, love God and love people. That those are the 2 things that should consume our life more than anything else. Yet, as we've all experienced in our lives, those can often be the first 2 things to get pushed out when our lives get busy. And I think one of the unique things about this season of life that we're in right now is that it gives us the time to kind of step back and say, okay, what are the things that my life needs to be about first and foremost? And the reality is that it's loving God and loving people. And during this season, hopefully we're taking advantage of getting back into that habit and that routine of doing those things. And hopefully it's not just for this season. Hopefully it's something we can carry on with us once even life goes back to normal. And with this shelter-in-place order that's in effect right now, there's this word or this phrase that's kind of getting thrown around, and it's this idea of being essential or an essential activity, right? We're supposed to stay home unless we have an essential activity that we can perform, like such as exercising, such as shopping, such as going to the doctor or helping someone in need, right? Or businesses and restaurants are forced to close and shut down unless they're seen as essential businesses or essential to life, right? And so some of these things are still able to go, but they have to be essential. And essentially what the Pharisees have done in this passage is they've gone up to Jesus and said, hey, Jesus, what is essential? What are we supposed to be doing? And Jesus' response is love God and love people. Those are the things that are essential right now. They're not just essential for us to do during this season that we're in. They're essential forever. They're essential even when we go back to our regular routines, that we're still supposed to be loving God and loving people first and foremost in our lives. But right now, we actually have this opportunity to maybe even build some habits into our life that we don't have right now, things that will help us to love God more and to love people more. And so as we kind of jump into the action step part of the devotional, I want you to think about 3 different things. The first thing is this: what is something that you can do that's going to help you love God more this week, right? Think of something, regardless of what it is. It may be spending time in God's Word, it may be prayer, it may be memorizing Scripture, it may be just sitting there and thinking about who God is, right? But think of something this week that's going to help you increase your love for God this week. The second thing I want you to think about is what's something you can do this week to love people, right? The second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so what's something that you can do to love people this week? And this doesn't have to be something that's like super big or super crazy or anything like that. It can be something small. It can be something simple, right? A couple of things that I did this past weekend was I went and took food to my dad for lunch when he was waiting in the hospital parking lot. My mom had an infection related to kidney stone surgery that she had last week, and my dad wasn't allowed inside of the hospital because of all the kind of regulations and stuff going on right now. So he's out sitting in the parking lot of the hospital, and so I went and took him lunch, and we had a picnic in the hospital parking lot. And then later that day, me, my dad, and my brother helped mow the lawn of one of our neighbors who's not really able to do that as much anymore. And it wasn't anything that was hard for us to do, but it was something that was greatly appreciated by our neighbor. And so those are just a couple of easy ways that I was able to love the people around me just this week in this limited capacity that we have. And so what are some ways that you can do that, right? Maybe it's helping a sibling with homework this week. Maybe it's helping your parents around the house. Maybe it's cooking dinner for your family, right? Maybe there's a neighbor in your neighborhood around where you live that needs help with something, and maybe you can meet that need. And so think about, how can I specifically love someone or love people this week? And the third thing is this: what habit can you be forming during this season that we're in that's going to help you continue to love God and love people once this season of life is over? They say that it takes 30 days to build a habit. Well, with the shelter in place order going to be in effect through the end of April, we have those 30 days. So what can we be doing during these 30 days to build habits into our life that we can take with us beyond these 30 days that will help us continue to love God and continue to love people even after this season of life is done? Think about that as well. Well, that's it for this video, y'all. Hope this gave you something to think about. Hope it gave you something to do. As always, I'm interested in hearing how y'all are responding to these things as far as what you're going to be doing to love God more, to love people more, and what kind of habits y'all are going to be building into your life or working on building into your life during these next 30 days. And so if you want to drop that in the comment section, I'd love to see that. Love to hear from you on what you're doing. As always, I love you guys. I'm praying for y'all. And please, if there's anything that I can help y'all with or do for y'all during this season that we're in, don't hesitate to let me know those things.